May God be gracious to us, and bless us, and make his face shine upon us, that your way may be known on earth, your saving power among all nations. Psalm 67 1-2. Those words sound familiar. But what if I told you most people have never been taught what they actually do? Let me ask you something difficult. Have you ever loved God sincerely, obeyed him, tried to live right, and still felt financial pressure tightening around your chest? Not greed, not luxury, just the weight of bills, the anxiety of provision, the quiet fear of the future. If that question hit close to home, you're not weak, you're not faithless, and you're not alone. Hidden in this psalm is something churches rarely explain, not because it's dangerous, but because it's uncomfortable, because it confronts the way most believers think about blessing, purpose, and money. This verse was never meant to be read as poetry alone. It was written as a framework, a pattern, a spiritual order. And when that order is misunderstood, people pray sincerely and stay stuck. Here's the part no one tells you. God's blessing is never the destination. It's the signal. Psalm 67 does not begin with abundance. It begins with alignment. And that's where many Christians quietly break down. They ask God for provision without understanding positioning. They ask for increase without clarity. They ask for favor without purpose. If that's been your story, take the weight off your shoulders. This confusion is common. It's shared by millions of believers who are taught how to be faithful, but not how to be aligned. This channel exists for people like you, people who love Scripture, people who want truth, not hype, people who feel called to live wisely, not loudly. You're part of a generation that senses something deeper is missing. Not another sermon, not another formula, but understanding. And here's the reason you need to stay until the end of this video. There is a specific reason Psalm 67 connects blessing with visibility, provision with purpose, and favor with responsibility. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. By the end, you'll understand why this psalm was central to Israel's worldview, why it reshapes how believers approach work, money, and stewardship, and why, when applied correctly, it brings clarity first, then movement, not superstition, not shortcuts, alignment. Stay with me, because what this psalm actually reveals changes how you pray, how you plan, and how you walk forward starting tonight. If this is already helping you see Scripture with more clarity and less confusion, take a moment and press like, not as a favor to this channel, but because it signals that thoughtful, Scripture-centered conversations still matter. It helps this message reach other believers who are quietly searching for understanding, not hype. And if you've ever felt alone in that search, your engagement helps remind others they're not alone either. Sometimes a simple action creates a wider table where more people can sit, learn, and grow together. Let's go back in time over 3,000 years to the era of King David. The book of Psalms, as many know, wasn't written all at once. It was a collection built across generations, reflecting the spiritual heartbeat of Israel, its worship, its struggles, its victories, and its secrets. Psalm 67 is believed by many scholars to have been written during a time of agricultural harvest, when Israel brought in their increase, lifted their eyes to heaven, and acknowledged that everything came from God. But here's what's often missed. In ancient Israel, during these times of harvest, the people didn't just thank God for what they received. They publicly acknowledged why they were receiving it. And Psalm 67 was more than just a thank you. It was a declaration of global responsibility. This wasn't just about God blessing Israel. It was about Israel becoming a conduit for God's goodness to the nations. Now here's where it gets deeper. Archaeologists discovered inscriptions near ancient synagogue ruins in northern Galilee dating back over 2,000 years that reference this psalm being used in seasonal festivals. It wasn't a private prayer. It was a public cry. Bless us so the world may see you. That completely flips how we often think about wealth. But now look at the original Hebrew. The phrase in Psalm 67:1 that reads, "May God be gracious to us and bless us," uses the word yᵊĀreխênū for bless. This word comes from the root ba, which doesn't simply mean to receive something good. It implies a kneeling posture, as if someone is entrusting something precious to you, not as a gift, but as a responsibility. Let that sink in. The blessing wasn't just provision, it was stewardship. God kneels to entrust something sacred into your care so that through you, others will see his ways. Here's another overlooked part. In verse 6, the psalm says, "The land yields its harvest. God, our God, blesses us." This wasn't poetic fluff. In the ancient world, harvest was life or death. A good season meant survival. A bad one meant desperation. So when the psalmist writes this, he's not just talking about wheat and barley. He's speaking prophetically about seasons of increase in your life. Yes, financial, but also clarity, creativity, opportunity. And here's the key. The increase was never meant to stop with you. That's why verse 7 says, "May God bless us still, so that all the ends of the earth will fear him." Notice the pattern? Blessing gives witness, gives reverence. God blesses you, so your life becomes a sign, so others turn toward him. This isn't prosperity gospel. This is covenant economics. It's not get rich quick. It's be positioned for purpose. Now imagine how different life looks when you stop asking, "How can I get more?" and start asking, "How can I be trusted with more for the sake of others?" That shift alone changes your decisions. It calms your anxiety. It lifts the pressure. Because prosperity, in the biblical sense, is not self-centered accumulation. It's purposeful flow. It's not about building bigger barns. It's about opening wider doors. And that's why Psalm 67 matters. It's not about magic. It's about alignment. And when you align with God's heart, when your prayers match his mission, you don't chase blessings. They flow through you. That's what David understood. That's what the ancient Israelites declared. And that's what this generation is being called back to. This shows us biblical prosperity is not greed. It is alignment with the purpose of God. Proverbs 10:22 says, "The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it." That's a verse many have heard, but few have fully understood. Because the word rich here isn't limited to money. In the original Hebrew, the word is ziyar, which implies accumulated resources, strength, and influence. But it also points to wholeness of life, marked by stability, clarity, and peace. The idea that God's blessing brings abundance without sorrow is crucial. Why? Because the world knows how to create wealth, but it often comes with anxiety, burnout, and broken relationships. But when God is the source, there's fruit without fallout. Now let's fast forward to the New Testament. In 2 Corinthians 9-8, the Apostle Paul writes, "And God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that in all things at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work." This is a cornerstone verse for biblical abundance. Notice what Paul connects abundance to. Not comfort, not luxury, but good works. Paul is teaching the Corinthian church that God's provision is on purpose, so that believers can be unstoppable in their generosity and impact. Let's pause here. This is where many believers have been taught a damaging lie, that poverty is somehow more spiritual, that being broke, barely surviving, or living in scarcity is holy, that wealth automatically leads to pride, sin, or distraction. But the Bible never says poverty is a virtue. It warns about the love of money, not money itself. It rebukes greed, not stewardship. In fact, Scripture is filled with people whom God blessed with abundance for a reason. Abraham was wealthy in livestock and silver, so he could become a father of nations. Joseph managed the wealth of Egypt, so he could save lives during famine. Esther was elevated to a royal position, not for comfort, but to preserve her people. Jesus had financial supporters, wore a seamless garment, a rare item, and multiplied food miraculously, not for show, but for mission. In every case, resources followed responsibility, and that's the biblical pattern. God entrusts more to those who are aligned with his heart. He blesses the ones who say, "Use me, multiply what's in my hand. Let it serve something bigger than me." So let's be clear, money is not evil. It's a tool. It can build churches or buy weapons. It can feed children or fuel addictions. The tool is neutral. The hands that hold it determine its purpose. God doesn't want you to worship money, but he absolutely wants you to master it. Why? Because when you're constantly stressed, anxious, or in survival mode, you can't focus on your calling. You think about bills, not boldness. You pray from fear, not from overflow. But when you're stable, wise, and positioned, your life becomes a vessel for something greater. You give freely. You bless quietly. You build without striving. That's abundance, not excess for self, but enough for mission. Enough to say yes when God opens a door. Enough to bless without hesitation. Enough to live with peace instead of pressure. And that's why this conversation matters. Biblical prosperity is not about chasing status. It's about being positioned for purpose. So if this made sense to you, if it clicked deep in your spirit, comment below, "I receive." That one phrase isn't just engagement. It's alignment. You're agreeing with God's design. You're rejecting fear-based faith, and you're stepping into something stronger. You are not made to barely survive. You are called to carry His kingdom well. Can we be honest for a moment? This tension between faith and finances, it's real. It's not just a theological debate. It's a daily weight. You love God. You want to honor Him. You try to pray, to trust, to believe. But sometimes, when the bills pile up, when the numbers don't add up, when you have more responsibilities than resources, you wonder, am I doing something wrong? I've been there. There was a season not long ago when I felt like I had to choose between being spiritual and being stable. Like trusting God meant I shouldn't even think about money. That asking for clarity or increase somehow made me less faithful. But silently, I was stressed, not because I didn't believe in God, but because I didn't know how to connect my faith to real life. And it wasn't just me. I remember reading a message from a woman named Kara in our online community. She wrote, "I've tithed for years. I've prayed every morning, but I feel like I'm drowning. I don't want to love money. I just want to breathe." And when I saw her message, my eyes welled up, because that cry is familiar. It's the cry of someone who wants to be faithful, but is exhausted from surviving. And here's the truth no one ever told us in church. Wanting financial peace is not greed. It's not a lack of faith. It might actually be a calling. Some of you aren't just trying to get by. You're being called to manage resources for your family, to break cycles, to fund missions, to build something that outlives you. But before you can carry more, you have to stop feeling guilty for wanting more. Not more for ego, more for impact. And maybe, just maybe, that restlessness inside you isn't rebellion. It's a signal, a pull from God saying, "I want to trust you with more. But I need your mind to be renewed first. So let me ask you a few questions." Take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you need to. 1. When you think about money, does your chest tighten or your spirit expand? That answer tells you whether you're carrying peace or pressure. 2. Do you believe God can provide for you? Now go deeper. Do you believe God can provide through you for others? 3. Have you confused surviving with surrendering? There's a difference between trusting God and quietly accepting struggle as your only option. 4. If God gave you more tomorrow, would you know what to do with it? That's not a test of perfection. It's a sign of preparation. If your heart is racing right now, if your chest feels heavy, if there's a knot in your stomach or a lump in your throat, that's not fear. That's confirmation. Something inside you knows, this is truth. This is what I've been sensing, but couldn't put into words. Let that awareness break something open in you. You don't need to chase money. You don't need to feel guilty for wanting peace. You don't need to apologize for dreaming of stability. You just need to see it through God's lens. Because when you do, everything changes. You stop praying from panic. You stop managing out of fear. You stop disqualifying yourself from the life God actually wants to trust you with. You rise up not in arrogance, but in alignment. You start to see that your desire for stability isn't selfish, it's sacred. You're not just trying to pay bills. You're preparing to build legacy. You're not just tired, you're being trained. You're not weak for feeling the tension. You're honest. And that honesty, it's the beginning of healing. Let that truth settle in. Let it speak louder than the lies you've carried. Because the moment you stop seeing abundance as a threat to your faith and start seeing it as a tool for your calling, you step into something stronger. And if your heart's beating fast right now, if you feel seen, exposed, or maybe even emotional, don't run from it. That's God, whispering, affirming, calling you not to shame, but to stewardship. Let's go back to where we started. Psalm 67 1-2 says, "May God be gracious to us, and bless us, and make his face shine upon us, so that your ways may be known on earth, your saving power among all nations." Now we understand that this isn't just a poetic prayer. It's a declaration of purpose. It's a framework for alignment. It's a reminder that God's blessing is meant to move through you, not just to you. And if you felt that tension between loving God and longing for stability, now you know it doesn't make you weak. It makes you aware that there's more to stewardship than we've been taught. That abundance, when rooted in purpose, becomes worship, and that your desire for clarity and provision could be the beginning of a divine invitation. So what can you do today? Here are 3 simple but powerful actions. 1. Tonight, read Psalm 67 aloud before bed, not to chase a miracle, but to center your spirit. Pray it with the posture of alignment. God, bless me so that I may reflect you. 2. Choose one area of your finances this week to bring into alignment. That might be a decision you've been avoiding, a conversation you've been delaying, or a habit that needs adjusting. Start small, but be intentional. 3. Reflect on this question in your journal or prayer time. If God gave me more today, what would I do with it? These aren't just tasks. They're signals to heaven. They tell God, I'm listening, I'm ready, I want to be trusted. But now, this brings up a deeper question, one that most believers don't even realize they're carrying. Does God actually want me to prosper? Or have we misunderstood what prosperity meant in the Bible? Has culture distorted it? Have preachers misused it? Or have we ignored a core part of God's design? That's the conversation we're diving into next. Because until you answer that question, you'll always hesitate to receive. You'll always feel torn between faith and wisdom, between surrender and strategy. So if you're ready to go deeper, if you're done living in survival mode, if you're ready for alignment, not anxiety, comment below right now. I am ready, not just for a video, but for a shift. A new chapter in how you walk with God, handle provision, and step into your calling. You've made it this far because something in you is waking up. And now, it's time to see what happens when your faith and your finances finally stop fighting and start working together. If you've made it this far, that alone tells me something powerful. God is stirring something inside you. This isn't just about money. It's about clarity, calling, alignment. So if you're tired of shallow answers and ready to pursue wisdom with depth, subscribe and be part of a tribe that values truth over hype. Tap like if something in this word opened your eyes or challenged your thinking. It helps this message reach more believers who are hungry for the same shift. Now don't stop here. Click on the video titled, The Forbidden Biblical Code to Wealth, Why 99% of Christians Never Find It. That's the next chapter, and it will take this conversation even deeper. As you go, may you walk with clarity, courage, and purpose. And remember, stewardship begins with understanding.